It's only 8:31 a.m. though. Before we get to today's video, I want to take a moment to talk about Patreon. That's right, we are on Patreon now, and we have a bunch of tiers with a bunch of great rewards. You can subscribe and get things like early access to all reactions, depending on your tier, depends on which reactions you get early access to. You can vote on polls exclusive to patrons that will help determine future reaction series and more. You will get to just have various choices in terms of like getting to choose future reactions I react to, getting to choose first impressions I check out, all kinds of different rewards, and possibly more coming in the future. We're still new at this. We're still figuring things out. It's a process. It's a process. But we have multiple tiers, so whatever you would be able to donate, if you're able and willing to donate, is appreciated. It helps me out, it helps the channel out, it helps us grow. It's going to help just, standardly. It's just something new to check out. Plus, if you like getting the reactions early, that's also a plus. But it is optional. If you're unable to do it, that's completely fine. All reactions will come to YouTube just a little bit later, a week later or so. So, that all being said, thank you as always so much, and let's get on with today's video. And with that being said, hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to At Midnight I'll Take Your Soul. So, I don't know anything about this. It's a donation reward for Venom. I have never heard of this movie prior to it being donated for. I've never heard of it since. I don't know anything. I don't know what to expect at all. I am very interested though. It's an interesting title. It obviously reads to me as horror. It's a very specific title too. At Midnight I'll Take Your Soul. It's like so specific. And at least it gives you a fair warning. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what we're getting to. I don't know anything about this. I don't know when the movie came out. I don't know when the movie, who made it. I don't know who's in it. I know nothing. I just don't know. But I'm excited to find out. Because I've said this plenty of times on the channel, but if you're new, I enjoy not knowing anything going into a film or any reaction, really. Because it means that I get to experience it for the first time, and that my reaction is going to be a lot more genuine because of that. So, yeah, I'm very interested to see what this movie is. And hopefully it ends up being one that I really enjoy. So, that being said, I think we should just get into this and hope for the best. But before we do, I do want to remind you real quick that we have a Patreon now. So, at the start of the year, we started up a Patreon, and on it you can get early access to all reactions, as well as other rewards, such as getting to vote on exclusive polls in the future, and getting to just decide things that you want to see me react to in the future. But yeah, it's all of the information is on the Patreon page itself, which is linked to in the description below. You can find all the dedicated tiers there and the descriptions of what each one comes with. That being said, it is obviously completely optional. You don't have to subscribe to the Patreon if you're unable to or unwilling to. It is just a way to help the channel out, as this is something that I do full time between this channel and the gaming channel. So, because of that, it does help out. It's very much, appreciated. if you can do it. And like I said, you get early access to reactions, and that's depending on your tier, of course. Like, for example, the $5 tier gets you early access to movie reactions. The $10 tier is movies and shows, and so on and so forth, with each tier up gaining access to another level of early access. So, yeah, I'd say it's worth it, but of course, I'm biased. I would definitely suggest checking it out, though. Once again, link is in the description below. And for now, let's get on with today's reaction and see what we have in store. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. Welcome to the Afterthoughts, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I was looking things up, and apparently the actor who physically played Coffin Joe, or Zé de Caixon, was Jose Mojica Marins, who is also the writer, director, and just general creator of this movie. And the series that this movie started. However, Joe's voice, which was left uncredited, is done by, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce this, Laercio Lorelli. So that kind of confirms to me that the voices were like recorded separately and like put in later. Maybe Jose felt like his voice maybe wouldn't have been right for the character, so he got like this other guy to do the voice. But this is apparently the very first Brazilian produced horror film. This was the first one. And I don't know, like, offhand, outside of, like, I guess the others in this trilogy, what other Brazilian produced horror films there are. So, to my knowledge, it's the only one I've seen. But that being said, this was good. I wouldn't say it's great or anything. I wouldn't say it's like anything spectacular or special. But it's good, because it follows more than anyone in this the villain, and that's pretty interesting in and of itself. There's not a lot of horror movies, I feel like, that do that. The protagonist of the film is usually a good guy, or at least supposed to be a good guy. Like I said in the reaction, sometimes they can be a little in terms of ethicality and morality and all. They're not always the best of people, but they're always, like, comparatively the good guy or the victim compared to the monster or the slasher or whatever. But in this case, our protagonist, the character we are following for the film, is the villain. He's the murderer, the psychopath, the rapist. He's horrific. And he's our point of view character. So that's fascinating. On top of that, we have other characters like Antonio and Terezinha, who are the victims of this film of Coffin Joe, and are very clearly like the characters we're supposed to root for, but we also know aren't going to make it. It's one of those kind of movies where almost everyone dies. The only one who actually manages to get away, not counting the woman at the end, Marta, The only one who actually is like, on his radar and manages to get away is Maria from the bar. There's also her uncle who, he does get maimed by Joe, but he does manage to escape, all things considered. So I guess Maria and her uncle both are able to escape before anything more can happen, which is good. Unfortunately, there's enough victims for it to be a pattern and for him to be like extremely fucked. Granted, one victim would have proven that, and that was the first one, his wife. But like, it's like he just kept stepping it up, and he was just such a terrible piece of shit. And so his fate at the end is very satisfying. It's something that leaves you like really happy because you get to see like the spirits and I guess Satan um give him his comeuppance. Um I do know though, because I found out when I was looking this up that the character does return in the rest of the movies because it's like the trilogy is centered around Coffin Joe. It's called the Coffin Joe trilogy or whatever. So I'm just wondering how that's going to be done because obviously that's been done in different ways in various horror films. So I'm pretty curious to see that. But we'll get to that in the future. Um, the effects were pretty good for the time. Um, I enjoyed that aspect of things. The acting was fun. Like the actors clearly had a good time. In terms of Joe, both like uh, both Jose as the physical actor and his voice, both of them did a great job. Both of them were clearly having a blast with the performance. And then you had just all the victims playing the roles very well, um, which is a little odd to say, but they're actors and they're doing a good job. That's all I'm trying to get across there. The music was fitting. It was a little dramatic, but it fit. It never felt like it was like off-putting or like a weird choice. The pacing was a little slow and a little just it could have been better. The pacing just could have been better, I will say. Um, but honestly, it's not the worst I've seen. I've seen much worse. And there is some stuff that obviously doesn't age completely well in this, such as the Romani woman being referred to with the slur. I understand this came out in the '60s. It was a product of the time, and during that time, and even well into like even the '90s and stuff, the term was still very often used. And luckily, people have realized more and more as time has gone on that that's not okay to say. So thankfully, we're at a point in time in 2026 where that's not really used as a term anymore. Um, the movie had quite a bit to say on religion, um, specifically with Joe like disrespecting it constantly, and the victims like embracing it. Um, I don't know how big religion and God is in Brazil. I don't know like how important religion is to the Brazilian culture. But my view on it has always been, and I'm saying this as someone who has grown up and still considers myself Christian. As long as you're not a fucking asshole, do whatever you want in terms of your religion. Just don't be an asshole to someone else. The problem is most Christians are fucking assholes. Most Christians are atrociously terrible, evil people. But there are some good ones as well. And again, as long as you're a good person, as long as you're kind, as long as you're, not going to be a fucking piece of shit, I don't care what your religion is. That's for you. That's your, like, that's your business. It doesn't affect me in any way what you choose to believe. And what I choose to believe doesn't affect you. And I'm not going to like try to force my beliefs on you in any way. But Joe here is someone who really tries to force his thoughts and ideas on other people and tries to shame them almost for believing the things that they believe. It's just gross. It's just constantly gross. And it made me super uncomfortable just how Joe constantly acted. Plus, of course, being a piece of shit sexual assaulter constantly. Like, he was seriously feeling Maria up right in front of her uncle. And on top of that, obviously the rape. Like, that's the big one. And it's like, yeah, rapists deserve to be fucking killed. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. If you rape someone, fuck you. There is, like, that's like the only crime that I truly consider to be unforgivable. Because there is absolutely no justification you can ever have for raping someone. There's some justifications you can have for murder, such as self-defense and whatnot, or, being in the military. There's justifications for stealing, and so on and so forth. But rape, there is never a justification for, and anyone who rapes anyone else can fuck off and die. And that includes, especially recently, everyone in the fucking Epstein files. Yeah, that shit's being revealed. And anyone in there who's, like, proven to be, an assaulter, a rapist, especially, pedophilic rapist towards the children who were on Epstein's island, yeah, fuck you, you can die. I don't give a shit. The world will be better off without you. So, yeah. Kind of relevant, unfortunately. I hate that it's relevant, but evil people continue to exist. And I mean, all of this includes, obviously, the rapist in chief who's running our country right now. So, yeah, there's that. And yeah, for those who watch and just, I guess, haven't somehow heard me talk about stuff like this before, my channel is not politically neutral. It never will be. You're watching a channel called Princess of Gay. I'm not going to be politically neutral. I don't believe in political neutrality. I believe we're at a point in time where political neutrality is pretty much just as bad as excusing the evils that the political right have been, engaging in. And even some people on the political left. There are absolutely evils coming from the Democrats as well. I'm not a Democrat. I'm left, but I'm not a Democrat. I would consider myself, if anything, a democratic socialist, like Bernie Sanders or something. But yeah. Either way, just generally speaking, like, fuck those kinds of people. Fuck anyone who would even absolutely consider doing something like this. And it doesn't have to be like full on full on rape. Like, if you sexually assault anyone to any degree, fuck you. You deserve to die. There, again, no excuse. There's no excuse for it. So, yeah. It's an easy way to make a villain in a movie like this detestable and unforgivable. but it's an effective way too. Some people might say like, "Oh, it's you're just taking the easy way out. You're just making him do the worst thing imaginable, just because it's like there's no nuance there, and it feels so like bland when you do something like that." It's like, who cares? Not every villain in a movie needs nuance. In fact, it'd probably be better if we had less of that. Yeah, I'm going to say it. So many people are so obsessed with nuanced villains, are so obsessed with the bad guys in movies having a lot of depth and like um, character and overall trying to think of a specific word and I'm not getting it's not clicking in my head. And overall just sympathy. And it's just like it's stupid. Like yes, some villains can be great with that kind of thing. But there's also just a lot to say about a villain who's just evil. Because there are people in the world who are just evil, who are just bad people and don't need to be sympathized with or given any kind of like leeway for nuance. Not all bad people are these nuanced, like in depth types of people. Some of them are just evil, are just terrible, cartoonishly bad people. And it reminds me of a post I saw on Twitter. Um, the day I'm recording this, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, obviously this is coming to YouTube a week after I recorded it, but um, I saw a post on Twitter that was like sharing a link to a video talking about how the person who made the video was like thought that the transphobic coach in the banned episode of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur was a bad representation of a bigot. And I saw some of the video, and it basically the argument is that she's not nuanced. And I saw like the person who posted that was like saying like, oh yeah, I remember I should have been meaner towards this episode or something like that because because of how poorly it portrays this. And I've seen a lot of like quote tweets, a lot of like quote retweets of people like chewing this fucker out for even like considering saying shit like that. When like these transphobic pieces of shit want like trans people like myself dead and are actively trying to engage in that shit, it's like, yeah, there's not nuance there. They're just fucking evil. It's like there's not a lot to like think about. And it was being compared with the video and everything. It was being compared to like a Static Shock episode, which was about an entirely different kind of bigotry, by the way, and is not even really comparable for a number of reasons. But also, it's just like, it was just a bad comparison. It was a bad faith argument from the like get go. It was stupid. And it was also just dismissive of, you know, how most of these actual bigots are. So, yeah. But this this movie very much has no room for nuance with the character of Coffin Joe. He's just pure evil. He's a psychopath. He's as bad as they come. And I like that. I like that we have a villain here who's just vile, who you just hate, like, instinctually, because he's that evil. And so, I hope that he stays that way throughout this film series, and that he never, like, they never try to give him any nuance beyond that. because there's nothing that excuses his actions in any way, shape, or form. So yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed this for the fact that it was like so straightforward and like from the perspective of like following the villain rather than the heroes. Like I said, it could have been paced better. It felt like very slow, and it felt like it was a slog to get through for being a fairly short movie, especially comparative to a lot of modern stuff. But while it was really slow, I was still like invested in seeing where it went. So that's good. At least I was invested. At least I wasn't like growing too bored of it. But I'd love to know what you think. So tell me in the comments below, what are your thoughts on this movie? And just no spoilers for the future ones, because I will be getting to those at some point in the future. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the reaction. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See you all next time.